Well, that didn't go as planned. You know how you take a nap, you set your alarm, it goes off, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm about to get up." And then you don't. Yeah, that's what happened to me today. So, I apologize for the tardiness. It was this close to not just, you know what, to hell with the pod today. Nah, I need to get this done. So, here we are. Here we go. 279th installment of the Louie T Network podcast starts now. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 279th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. It is Thursday. Training camp is in full swing. So much to get to. You know, it's training camp time when we start seeing guys retire. This is the time of the year where they realize, you know what? I don't need this shit. I'm done. And so we're going to see that coming a lot more and a lot more often as we get deeper and deeper into training camp. You're seeing, guys performing well. You're seeing other guys that are on the bubble not performing well. So you're hearing so many different things. You've got guys that are showing up but not participating because they want a new contract. That's a new thing. That is not an old thing. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I want to talk about the AFC East. This is an interesting division, not because I think someone's going to challenge Buffalo for the divisional crown, but I don't know about a couple of these teams. Maybe two of them. I know one of these teams is going to be significantly better than it was a season ago. That's still not enough to do any real damage, but it's going to be better. I think the two teams in the middle, New England and Miami, are so intriguing for various reasons. Let's jump into this schedule. And before we do that, you know what we got to do? Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind. Let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So we're going to jump into the schedules, and we start with the Buffalo Bills and their schedule. And I thought their schedule would be tougher than what it was. I was looking at other team schedules. The Bills seem to be appearing on a lot of these schedules of some of these heavy hitter teams. And I said, man, Buffalo's schedule is going to be brutal. And then I sat down and I looked at the schedule and I'm like, this is not a brutal schedule. This is a very doable schedule. So I look at Buffalo. Remember, they struggled to win the division last year. They had to kind of find themselves like 3/4 of the way of the season. Like in that as they hit that third quarter pole, they were starting to find themselves. They started out hot, kind of hit a little bit of a malaise, and then they had to wake up, had to distance themselves from New England, ultimately win the division. I don't see them having to do that this year. So let's go through this schedule. I'll give you the pockets of the schedule that I think are noteworthy, and then we'll move on. At Los Angeles Rams. So I think this is a fantastic, just like last year's Thursday night game was fantastic, Cowboys, Bucks, and it went right down to the wire. This has fireworks written all over it. Bills at the Rams, Thursday night football to kick off the season. Super Bowl champions are defending their crown, starting with the Buffalo Bills. That should be a lot of fun on a Thursday night. Home for Tennessee the following week on a Monday night. So right out of the gate, we get 2 weeks of primetime television of these Buffalo Bills. And this is one of the more exciting teams to watch. So I don't mind them being on television 2 weeks in a row to kick off the season. I think the Titans are going to be less of a team this year. We're going to find out very early in the season. This is a team that Buffalo has struggled with. Anyway, I digress. At Miami in week 3, at Baltimore in week 4, home for Pittsburgh in week 5, at Kansas City week 6. Then you run into that bye week in week 7. So it's a nicely placed bye. Come off the bye, you're home for Green Bay on a Sunday night. That should be a lot of fun there. At the Jets week 9, home for Minnesota in week number 10, home for Cleveland in week 11, at Detroit on Thanksgiving. I like Buffalo on Thanksgiving. They seem to always entertain well on Thanksgiving. I don't recall them playing Detroit very many times. It's usually Dallas that they play, or of recent ilk. When they've played, it's been Dallas. So playing Detroit, that should be fun. Then the following week at New England on a Thursday. So they're one of the teams this year, and usually it's Dallas who gets this treatment, where you play on a Thursday and then you play the following Thursday, and then you get that mini bye. So you don't actually get the mini bye until after the second Thursday night game. So they have a Thanksgiving game on Thursday, week 12. You get a Thursday game the following week, so there's no extra time off that you usually get when you have a Thursday night game against New England on the road. And then after that, you get the full 10-day break and come back week 14 home for the Jets. At home for Miami as well the following week, week 15, at Chicago, week 16, at Cincinnati, week 17. That's a Monday nighter. That should be a doozy. If the Bengals are as good as we think, and the Bills likewise, that should be a big-time game late in the season with huge playoff implications and maybe a preview of something we don't know. Finally, week 18 to finish up, home for New England. It's good to know that you got that ace in the back pocket if you should need that late in the season. I don't think you will ultimately need that game. However, it's good to know that if you do, it's at the crib and you should be able to take care of business there. So, so going through this schedule real quick, the first 8 weeks of the season is where I think the meat and potatoes of this schedule is for Buffalo. Honestly, I think the back end of the schedule is very, very doable. At Detroit, I get it. The lines are going to be improved. It's Thanksgiving, yada, yada, yada. You know, you want to see Detroit on the schedule. You want to see Chicago, whether it's home or away. You know, these are teams you want to see. I know Miami and the Jets, that's family business. You never want to count those teams out, but those are very winnable football games on the back end of this schedule. So I look at the back end of the schedule, and it doesn't look like the front end where you see a bunch of playoff teams that we think are going to make the playoffs potentially that will bounce back, tough road games. All of that stuff is at the front end of the schedule, weeks 1 through 8. So that's why, to me, I want to see how Buffalo gets started. If they want to run away with this division in these first 8 games, or first 7 games rather, they have a bye in week 7. These first 7 games, if they really truly want to establish themselves as the Don Dada of this division, then just come out of the gates 5-2, 6-1, 7-0. I don't see you going 7-0, but 5-2, very doable. Now, it's not going to be easy, not by any stretch of the imagination. Not when your first 4 games, 3 of them are on the road against teams that easily could be playoff teams this year in Rams, Miami, and Baltimore. So your first 7 games look like this: at the Rams on a Thursday night. That's ring night. That's banner night. That's tough. It's not ring night. They've gotten their rings already. It's banner night. That's tough. Generally speaking, the banner team doesn't lose on Thursday night. Now, we've seen them lose, but it doesn't happen often. Home for Tennessee. That's on a Monday night. Then you're at Miami and then at Baltimore. So your first 4 weeks, you're 3 road games. 1 against a team in the division in Miami. At Baltimore, we know they're going to be lusting to get back to where they were prior to Lamar Jackson getting injured last season. So they're looking to rebound from a tough season. They're going to be tough early in the season. That's a toughie at Baltimore. Home for Pittsburgh. The Steelers came into your building and beat you last year in week 1. So I get it. No Ben Roethlisberger. It shouldn't be the same, right? I get it. But still, that's a good defense. We'll see what happens. At Kansas City, we already know what that is. That's returning to the scene of the crime. That's the arch enemy right now. That's the team that you look at. If you were the Chicago Bulls, this is the Detroit Pistons standing in your way. This is the team that you have to get over, the hump you have to get over and clear, the hurdle that you must find a way to get over. And it's not just in the regular season, because you beat the brakes off of them in the regular season last year in Kansas City, but you weren't able to duplicate that in the postseason. Even though you played really well in that game, you still didn't come away with what you ultimately wanted to, which was the dub. That's going to be a fun one there. Bye week 7, come off the bye, home for Green Bay on a Sunday night. That's the toughest stretch of your season right there. Those first 7 weeks with a bye there in week 7, you got Green Bay, Kansas City, Baltimore, and the Rams all in those first 7 games. So that's the toughest stretch of football that you will see. You come out of that stretch, 5-2. That's enough for me to know that you're serious. Anything north of that, and you're one of the best teams in football. 5-2, and you say, okay, I'm trying to win this division comfortably. 6-1, I'm trying to make a run for the Super Bowl. 7-0, I'm not playing around. I'm going to win the Super Bowl. That's kind of how I see Buffalo. They're one of those types of teams. Because you look at the rest of the schedule, Jets, You got those guys twice in the final, 10 games. You got Minnesota. Again, these are teams you should be able to handle. Playing the NFC North, make sure that it ensures that your schedule can't be too tough. And I hate to shit on Minnesota. They got a new head coach. They're interesting because we don't know what they're going to be. They got talent. They could easily be really good this year. But Chicago and Detroit if you're a good team, you have to beat them. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You have to beat Chicago and Detroit. So those are all on the back end of the schedule. So I like how it's set up. And then this is an interesting stretch. Weeks 13 through 15. Remember, week 12 is a Thanksgiving game. And you come off of that Thanksgiving game and you got 3 straight divisional opponents at New England in week 13 on a Thursday night, home for the Jets, home for the Dolphins. You clean up there, and I think you're going to cruise to this divisional crown. So I got the Bills at 12-5. I don't see anybody else really, challenging them in this division. I think this is their division to lose, and you'll see why as we go on to the other teams in the division, which we will do now, starting with New England. They finished second in this division. They made the playoffs. It's so easy to forget that they made the playoffs because Buffalo beat the brakes. I mean, that was one of the worst playoff ass whoopings I've ever seen, especially one of a family member. I've never seen a family member embarrassed on a national stage in the postseason like the Bills did the Patriots last year. It was in and out. It was like Abe Simpson. That meme you see of him walking in the bar, taking his hat and his coat off, walking in a circle, grabbing his coat, grabbing his hat, and walking back out the building. That's how the Patriots playoff experience was last year for Mac Jones and company. Mac Jones. Who? Mac Jones. The miggity, 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 Mac. Bo, the miggity, 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 Mac. I think the Patriots are going to suffer from the loss of Josh McDaniels. Let me just say that right now. I don't know what the hell they're cooking up. It better be crack on offense. But the fact that they don't actually have an official offensive coordinator, that shit worries me. I do not trust Bill Belichick and company to figure out offensively what the hell they're going to do. I trust wholeheartedly, without any doubt in my heart, mind, body, or soul about their defense. Bill Belichick will figure that shit out, and he'll give them a fighting chance defensively. But if their offense stinks, and I think they have a chance to really be anemic offensively with the shit that they're doing right now, I think they're going to take a massive step backwards. Now, in saying that, what is a massive step backwards? I don't remember how many games they won last year. Was it 10, 11? I don't remember. We just assume, Belichick's fine. He's got Mac Jones. They're going to win, double-digit games. I don't think that's the case. Let's go through this schedule real quick, and then we'll go through the pockets that I think are important. So, at Miami, at Pittsburgh, home for Baltimore week 3, at Green Bay week 4, home for Detroit week 5, at Cleveland week 6, home for Chicago week 7 on a Monday night, at the Jets in week 8, home for Indy in week 9, and then they got a week 10 bye. They come off the week 10 bye, week 11, home for the Jets, at Minnesota on Thanksgiving. So this is another team in the AFC East playing a Thanksgiving game. They're joining Buffalo in that distinction. You come off that Thanksgiving, and similar to Buffalo, you're going to be coming off of a Thursday game, and you're going to play the Bills on a Thursday night at the crib. So that's an interesting setup, and that's what the NFL generally does, is they take two teams from Thursday playing on Thanksgiving, and they play them the following Thursday. Usually, like I said, it's Dallas that has that distinction. This year, it's New England and Buffalo that will be playing in 2 separate games on Thanksgiving, and then will meet each other the following Thursday. And then they'll get that, elongated break after the second Thursday game. And it's actually an extra day of rest. They'll be at Arizona on a Monday night. So they'll get the extra day also, in addition to having a bit of a mini bye in week 14 at Arizona on a Monday night. That should be an interesting game there. Week 15 at Las Vegas on a Sunday night. Week 16 home for Cincinnati. Week 17 home for Miami. Week 18 at Buffalo. So the first pocket of the schedule that I look at is the first 6 games of the season, the first 6 weeks. So I think we're going to find out a lot about New England very early. They can't afford to get off to a sluggish start. Like, remember last year, they kind of got off to a slow start, and they were able to kind of rally after that slow start. I think they were at one point like 0-2. I think they were either 0-2 or 1-1. I think they ended up starting off the season like 3-4, something like that. And then they had that heartbreaking loss to Dallas in overtime. And then after that, they ran off like 7 straight. And everybody forgot that they were asked for a little bit there early. So I think they can't afford to do that this year and think they're just going to run off a bunch of games, because the back end of the schedule doesn't suggest that you're going to just run off games and get hot. They're at no point of this schedule do I think they're going to be allowed to get super hot. There's a stretch here, if they take care of business, weeks 4 through 9, where they may be able to get semi-hot. But you come, and really through 11, because you got the Jets coming out of the bye. You have the Jets twice in a 4-week span. So there's a stretch right there: Chicago, Jets, Indy, by Jets, and even you could probably throw Minnesota in there. I won't disrespect the Vikings that way, where you could say, hey, they could win all 5 of those games, or 4 of those games, excuse me. But the first 6 weeks at Miami, at Pittsburgh, home for Baltimore, at Green Bay, home for Detroit, at Cleveland. And I think whether Deshaun Watson has been back for a couple of weeks, or if that's his first game back, or is it a 6-game suspension and he's out for that game, is really important. Because if you tell me Watson's serving a 6-game suspension, you don't see him, you're going to win that game, I think. If you tell me that Watson had a 4-game suspension and he's been back now for 2 weeks, this is his 2nd game, you're going to lose that game. And that's tough. That's a big loss, because you could lose at Miami. Generally, you don't lose at Miami. Yes, you do. You generally lose at Miami. It's usually at the end of the season, though, not at the very beginning. It's usually at the end of the season, but you usually lose at Miami. It's usually a house of horrors for you. At Pittsburgh, you're good enough to beat Pittsburgh, because I don't love their quarterback situation, but they're defensively, they're good enough to make Mac Jones seem insignificant and inferior, and win that game, low scoring wise. Baltimore at the crib, that's always fun. You seem to have Baltimore's number and know how to play them well. You know how to bottle up Lamar Jackson, make him uncomfortable. It took a monsoon to do it the last time, but still you were able to get it done. At Green Bay, that's going to be tough. Home for Detroit, and then at Cleveland. Again, you've got 4 road games in your first 6 contests. So if you can navigate this, no worse than 3-3. If you come out of this thing at 500, I've just told you the next 4 weeks, you've got a chance to win all 4 of those games. You come out of this thing 3-3, you could look up and you're 7-3 and you're right in the mix. And all that shit that I've been talking about the Patriots is out the window. But I don't think you're going to do that. I think you're going to come out of this stretch 2-4, 1-5. I can't see Belichick having this team 1-5. I can see them being 2-4, however. And even if you win 4 straight, you're only 6-4, and you're sitting right there in a position where you lose 2 out of the next 3, and you're sitting at 500 at 7-7. So that first 6 games of the season, where 4 of them are on the road, that's tough. No way to get around that. That's tough, especially if Deshaun Watson plays in week 6. Then the next pocket of games, weeks 12 through 16. This is an interesting stretch, because you've got 4 straight weeks where you're on primetime television. They're forcing you down our throats. You're going to watch this goddamn New England Patriots team, whether you want to or not. Thanksgiving at Minnesota, Thanksgiving night. The following week on a Thursday, Amazon Prime versus Buffalo. We want to see that one, right? The following week at Arizona on a Monday night is on primetime again. And then the following week after that, at the Vegas Raiders on a Sunday night. So we get every flavor of the Sunday, the NFL primetime package with these Patriots. We get Thanksgiving, we get a Thursday night, we get a Sunday night or a Monday night, then we get a Sunday night. They're force feeding us the Patriots 4 weeks for a straight month, or essentially. We're going to get Patriots football on national television. Interesting. And all of those games are tough. 3 out of 4 of them are on the road. So once again, you're going to be tested on the road at Minnesota, home for Buffalo, at Arizona, at Vegas. And then the next game, the last game, is not a primetime game, but that's also in this stretch, home for Cincinnati. So if you're, and this is why I said that you could easily start the season off 2-4, win 4 straight, be 6-4, and then you run into this 5-game stretch, come out of this thing 1-4, 2-3, and all of a sudden now you're back to square one, right? That's why it's imperative that you come out of that thing 3-3 or better in the first 6, because if you take care of business the next 4 weeks after that, your next 4 games, you put yourself in a position where you got a little bit of money in the bank. If you struggle in this 5-game stretch here, where you've got 3 of 5 on the road, and you're playing playoff teams from a season ago, 4 of these 5 games are playoff teams in Buffalo, Arizona, Vegas, and Cincinnati. If you struggle in that stretch, if you've got a little money in the bank, if you've got 2 or 3 games above 500, you can withstand a little bit of a slide there and still have a fighting chance to make the postseason. If you're right at 500 or barely above 500, that stretch may be the one that breaks your back. I think it ultimately will be the stretch that breaks your back in 2022. I look at the Patriots. To me, they're a 9-8 team, and they do not make the playoffs in 2022. The Miami Dolphins, let's take a look at their schedule. They've revamped so much this past offseason. It's a different team. Tyreek Hill now there, new head coach in Mike McDaniel. There's so much going on. They revamped the running back position, as they should have a long time ago. So I'm really interested to see what the Dolphins look like. This should be a fun team to watch. I just don't know if they've got enough in year one. Tua is now the guy, unquestioned. Let's see what happens. So let's go through the schedule, and then I'll give you the pocket of games that I'm going to be looking at to see where the Dolphins end up. Home for New England week 1, at Baltimore week 2, home for Buffalo week 3, at Cincinnati on a Thursday night week 4, home or at the Jets week 5, home for Minnesota week 6, home for Pittsburgh. That's on a Sunday night in week 7. At Detroit week 8, at Chicago week 9, home for Cleveland week 10, and then you get to your bye week in week number 11. You come out of the bye week 12, home for Houston, week 13 at San Francisco, week 14 at the Chargers, week 15 at Buffalo, week 16 home for Green Bay, week 17 at New England, week 18 home for the Jets. So we start with the first pocket of this schedule that I think is imperative for them to get off to a fast start, and it's the first 4 games of the season. Right out of the gate, the schedule makers are daring the Miami Dolphins to show them that they're not a joke, because they're going to test them right out of the gate. You'll have a stretch after that to kind of pick yourself up off the canvas if you struggle to a 1-3 start. There's games against the Jets on the road, home for Minnesota, at Pittsburgh on a Sunday night, Detroit, at Chicago, home for Cleveland, and then Houston at the crib. There's an opportunity for you to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get back into the fray, get back into the fight if you struggle out of the gate. But if you struggle out the gate, what that says to me is you're not ready for the show. And what will ultimately happen is if you come out of the gates 1-3, and that's a tough stretch, home for New England week 1, at Baltimore week 2, home for the Buffalo Bills week 3, at Cincinnati on a Thursday night week 4. You could easily start the season 0-4. You must beat New England week 1, because I could see you losing in week 2 at Baltimore. I could see you losing in week 3 home for Buffalo, and I could see you losing week 4 at Cincinnati. You could easily start 0-4 if you don't beat New England week 1. Now, you're not dead if you start 1-3, but you put yourself in a position where I look at you and I say, hey, even if you get yourself together, start playing better football, there's a stretch that's going to ultimately break you late in the season if I can't trust you to take care of some of these better teams earlier in the season. You can't just get fat off of Detroit and Chicago and possibly Minnesota and the Jets and teams like that and expect me to respect what you're doing. You got to find a way to beat 1 or 2 of these teams, whether it's Buffalo in your division, who has owned you, or it's Baltimore on the road, or it's Cincinnati. I need a statement win from you somewhere in there. I don't know if you have that in you yet. So it'll be interesting to see those first 4 games, 2-2. And I'm looking at you in a whole different light. If you're able to get New England and then say you sneak Cincinnati on a Thursday night and you come out of this thing 2-2, okay, Miami might be cooking with some real gas, some oil and some gasoline over here, man. They might be ready to put some shit on the grill. Like, they actually might be cooking out here. You come out of it 1-3, 0-4, and I'm saying, okay, y'all trash. Maybe next year. Because then you get to this final pocket, and this is when I feel like it's Mortal Kombat for your season. Dun-dun-dun, finish him. Like, you're wobbling around. You've navigated your way through the first 12 weeks of the season, and you're like kind of disoriented. And then that's when Katana pulls out a fan and chops your head off. Or Scorpion throws one of those, get over here's, right through your body. Or Sub-Zero freezes you and then breaks you in half. You got a 5-game stretch here that's just brutal. No other way to say it. I don't know of many teams in the league that would be able to have this schedule, this portion of games in this sequence and not flinch. At San Francisco, at the Chargers, at Buffalo, home for Green Bay, at New England. 4 out of 5 games are on the road, and we're talking all playoff teams with the exception of the Chargers. And who doesn't look at the Chargers as a playoff team in the upcoming season? That's as brutal as it gets. You're going back to your old stomping grounds if you're Mike McDaniel. So they know you know them, but they know you. Okay. Everything you're going to do, they know it before you do it. Okay. The Chargers are going to be, I think, beast this year. Buffalo, you already know what that is. Green Bay on the road or at home. That's the only home game in this stretch. And that's still Aaron Rodgers. And then at New England. Yikes. So if you're hanging around, that's the stretch of football that's going to finish you. I got the Dolphins at 8-9 in this division. I could be wrong about them. I don't know about Mike McDaniel. I'm anxious to see first of all, I believe in Tua more than most, but this is the year he's got to prove himself. If he can't get it done this year, that's when the Dolphins are going to have to start looking for another quarterback. So they've done everything that they needed to do. They got rid of all the distractions. They got rid of the head coach that didn't believe in him. They got him a run game. They fortified the offensive line, or at least they think they have. I told them not to draft Austin Jackson. They did not listen to me. They may be screwed. They may have screwed themselves. I told them don't draft Austin Jackson. They're going to try him at left tackle yet again when they kicked him to guard because he couldn't do it last season. We'll see if there are better results this time around. But the offensive line should be better. They went out and got Dallas's bum at guard, and I'm thinking, I don't really know what you think you're going to get out of Connor Williams, but good luck with that. So even though they've done some things to the offensive line, I don't know if they're actually real upgrades or not. But they got Tyreek Hill. There's an explosive offense. The defense was good under Brian Flores. I don't know what it's going to look like now. So this Dolphins team is interesting. I think that this is going to be an 8-9 football team. Jets to finish up this division. I think this is going to be a much improved team, but obviously they're coming from the bottom. So much improved. They could win 8 games, not make the playoffs. That's a win for the Jets because you're coming from a 3-win team a season ago. So let's go over the schedule, and then we'll go over the pocket of the schedule that I think is huge for them. Home for Baltimore week 1, at Cleveland week 2, home for Cincinnati week 3, at Pittsburgh week 4, home for the Dolphins in week 5, at Green Bay week 6, at Denver week 7, home for the Patriots week 8, home for Buffalo week 9, bye week in week number 10. Come off the bye week in week 11 at New England, home for Chicago week 12, at Minnesota week 13, at Buffalo week 14, home for Detroit in week 15, home for Jacksonville week 16, at Seattle week 17, at Miami week 18. So I like this Jets roster. I like what they did in the offseason. I loved their draft. I said that their draft to me was the number 1 draft. Everybody was drooling and salivating over Baltimore's draft, and rightfully so. It was a strong draft by the Ravens, as it usually is for the Ravens. I thought the Jets draft was better. Okay. I loved what they did. They absolutely fortified the running back position. The offensive line, they feel like they've gotten it intact now. They've got all the pieces that they need there. Defensively, they went and revamped that defense, drafted a corner, got an edge rusher. They feel like they've done everything now to put themselves. I love the tight ends. They went and got 2 tight ends in free agency and then drafted another guy. So they revamped that entire offense and got themselves a receiver, got themselves some tight ends, fortified the running back position. Zach Wilson will not have to do this alone. Now, can he be a distributor? Can he be a playmaker when the time comes for him to do that? And can this defense start to take shape? And can Robert Saleh get them to play the kind of football that he envisions them playing on the defensive side? We will see. But to me, the first 9 games of the season are where we're going to find out if the Jets are going to be playing meaningful football into November, or is their season already done in October? There's nothing worse as a fan to get juiced up for the season, start September 1-3, get to October, you lose the first game there, you're 1-4, and you're like, are we going to get through October playing meaningful football, or is our season already going to be done in October? Sometimes your season's done in September, and that's terrible too. When you're 0-3, your season's done in September. There's no way around that. Home for Baltimore in week 1. That's tough. Home away, it's Baltimore. That's going to be tough. At Cleveland, that's no Deshaun Watson. You got to win that game. You got to find a way to get to Jacoby Brissett and win that game. I know they're going to run the hell out of the football. You've got to be prepared to stop the run and force Jacoby Brissett to beat you. You've got to win at Cleveland. They're not going – I guarantee you Deshaun Watson is going to be suspended for a bare minimum of 2 games. Bare minimum. You're going to get no Deshaun Watson in week 2. You have to. This is not optional. If you do not win this game, we have a problem. Home for Cincinnati. You beat them last year. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. At Pittsburgh, they got Mitchell Trubisky at quarterback, more likely than not. Or Mason Rudolph. Or worse, they're starting a rookie. Why not? It's at Pittsburgh. I get it. Why not? Home for Miami. At Green Bay. Ugh. At Denver. Ugh. Home for New England. Home for Buffalo. Okay, that's tough. It's tough, but it's fair. As a wise man used to say, all right? It's tough, it's firm, but it's fair. There are winnable games in here. The first 9 will tell me if you come out of this stretch at 2-7, we already know what it is. Same old Jets, right? You come out of this thing 3-6, not necessarily same old Jets, but you're like, still got a ways to go. You come out of this thing 4-5. Okay, wait a minute. Not only are you playing meaningful football into November, hey, wait a minute. This isn't the doormat Jets you can just step over and count them as 2 wins if you're in the division. And if you're a team traveling to New Jersey, you can't just say, okay, as long as we don't come out flat, we should win. Anything above 4 wins means you're up over 500, and this Jets team is threatening to make the playoffs. They might not make it, but they're threatening. You're going to be under 500 out of this stretch, more likely than not. I can't see you beating Green Bay, Denver, New England, Buffalo, and Baltimore. That's 5 losses right there. But if you find a way to beat Miami and Pittsburgh and, Cincinnati, I don't see you beating them either, but Cincinnati, Cleveland, if you find a way to get 4 of these things, hey, you're in the mix. You're fighting. That's all I can ask is you're fighting. 3 out of your first 9, and you're 3-6. You're probably trending in the direction. I think that's ultimately where you are after this first 9 games of the season. You're 3-6. That's what I think, more realistically. And I think that's going to land you at the number that I have you at, which is 7-10. The first 9 games prior to the bye are going to shape and mold the Jets. It's either going to instill confidence in them. They win 4 out of those 9 games. They're like, hey, we can compete. We can fight. We're right where we need to be. We're a game away from 500, come off the bye. Who knows what happens? And you look at the back end of this schedule, it's a very soft back end. But again, you're like one of these teams, like my favorite team, the Washington Commanders, where you can't look at anybody like food, right? You can't say that, hey, this is an easy game. You're the easy game on everybody's schedule right now. So you can't look at anybody's schedule and say, hey, we should be able to beat Seattle. No, Seattle's saying we should be able to beat the Jets, right? Same thing with Jacksonville and Detroit. These are all the games. You got Chicago, you got Detroit, you got Jacksonville, you got Seattle. These are all winnable football games on the back end of the schedule. If you can find a way to navigate the first 9 games at 4-5 or better, you're going to have a fighting chance to win 9-10 games because of the back end of the schedule being as soft as it is. But again, You've got to determine if you're food or if you're out here as a predator and you're eating, okay? You'll determine who has the napkin, fork, and knife. Is it you or is it the opposition showing up to eat you, to devour you? That's how it's usually been. Can the Jets change the narrative this year? That'll be the intriguing thing. I don't think they're quite there yet, but I do think they're going to be improved. I've got them at 7-10 this season. The first 9 games will tell me the story as to where they're going back into the season. If they're 3-6, which is what I think they'll be, I see them winning 4 more games. I just told you Chicago and Detroit and Jacksonville and Seattle. That's the 4 right there. They could get to 7-10. You come out of the first 9 games, 4-5 or 5-4, all of a sudden, I'm looking at the Jets totally different. And that means you've beaten 1 or 2 teams you have no business beating, which tells me you're a lot better off than people think. So, interested to see what happens with the Jets. But I think they're a 7-win team. That's a big improvement for them, but it still means they have a ways to go. So let's transition to our next segment, social media maneuvers. I'm a midday marauder. Y'all know what it is. So you guys tell me what you think about this division. I'm pretty sure most of you have Buffalo winning this division. The question is, who else is competing with them in this division? All right. So let's see. We will go. We have a super chat. Y'all know what it is. If you don't and you're new to the program, welcome first and foremost. Secondly, if you want to have your comment read, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have it read on the air if it is pertinent. If you want to jump to the front of the line, I can assure you that I will get to your comment. And we're very tight on time because I overslept today. So I can assure you that I will get to your comment. Super chats are the way to ensure that I get to your comment. So with that said, let's get to the comment section. I thought I saw a couple of super chats. I'll get to those first, and then we'll get to as many hashtags as possible. The Phillies Ace 34, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. The Phillies Ace 34 writes, my homie Louie, what's good? Always do great work. Just take off the Braves hat. I wish you rocked Phillies and Eagles colors, but having said that, we've already went through this, the Phillies Ace. You already know what it is, okay? Your Phillies, I wasn't appreciative of your Phillies doing a number on us. I think we split the series, if I'm not mistaken, or did you get us 3 out of 4? I think we split 2-2. Either way, he says, but having said that, Wentz was finished after our mistress brought us the bacon. Again, we're gonna see. We got y'all week 3. I'm done going back and forth with Eagles fans. Okay. I've done enough back and forth with them. There's no more talking. There's nothing else that can be said that hasn't already been said. We're going to find out if Terry McLaurin is better than A.J. Brown. We're going to find out if A.J. Brown is a stud receiver and he can play with Jalen Hurts. We're going to find out if Jalen Hurts stinks or not. We're going to find out a lot, okay? This Eagles roster is loaded. Okay, how good is your defensive coordinator? Can he play with all these pieces that he's been given? I don't trust Jonathan Gannon. Enough talking. Now we can just wait. The season's going to be here before you know it. So I'm ready. I'm pretty sure you are as well. Thank you for that super chat. The Phillies Ace 34 who doubled up. Thank you for doubling up. The Phillies Ace 34. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, also building a shrine for Foles. I really destroyed him mentally and the arrogance, but that's why y'all have number 2. Only way to change that changes is if we suck. Foles, I got to give him credit. I did not think he was going to come in and do what he did in 2017 to take you to that Super Bowl and ultimately win it. He deserves a ton of credit. He outdueled Tom Brady in that Super Bowl. He had to play the way that he did in order for you to have a chance. And not only did he go in and play well, he exceeded all expectations from my end. I mean, Eagles fans may have been expecting that. I don't know how you could have, even though he had played well in the run up to the Super Bowl. That was still a different stage. He showed up big time. So I do think that there's a lot of credit that needs to be given to Nicholas Foles. But I can tell you this, Carson Wentz is mentally tougher than people think. And when you've gone through what he's gone through over the last 15 months, now on his 3rd team, either you're going to mentally refocus and you have to be your sharpest that you've ever been mentally, or you're going to fold and your NFL career could be over after this season. So it's fight or flight for Carson Wentz. It's that time now. He's got to make a decision. I think I know the decision that he's going to make, but we're going to see. There's so many people that think they already know what Carson Wentz is about. Only one way for them to find out, and that's for him to show them. So we'll see what happens. The Phillies ace. Stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Always good to have my guy, the Phillies ace 34, back in the mix as a member of the MOBB mob. Y'all know he's an outsider, but he's really an insider. Welcome the Phillies ace 34 with open arms. You've done this before. He's been a part of the squad before. Always good to have you back in the mix. Welcome to the squad. All right, let's get to some hashtags. Rich, wow, the AG thing was shocking. I thought he had a chance to compete for a roster spot. There has to be more to the story. We'll talk about that later on tonight. Let's see. Silver V says, how would you rate the defense from best to worst in this division? They all are pretty darn good. So Miami is an enigma because I don't know what their defense is going to look like now that Brian Flores is no longer there. If he were there, I would put them near the top of this division defensively. They were good every single year that he was there defensively. You knew you were going to get a quality defensive effort out of them. You just didn't know what you were going to get from an offensive standpoint. Well, he's not there, so I don't know what they're going to look like defensively. I right now would put Buffalo at the top still. They were the number one scoring defense in the league, if I'm not mistaken, last season. So I'm going to keep them where they are. New England, you say what you want about Belichick. He finds a way to get the most out of his defense. I think he'll do that and continue to do that. So they're second. I'm going to put the Jets ahead of the Dolphins right now. I know the Dolphins have an excellent secondary, got a young safety that I love in Javon Holland. They got two corners out there that are studs. There's a lot to like with that secondary. I still don't necessarily love how they get after the quarterback. Agba was good for them. They re-signed him. We'll see if he continues to, improve and get better. But I just think what Robert Saleh was able to do, getting Sauce Gardner and, kind of transforming that defense a bit, getting, some of the pieces that he was able to get, I think they're going to be much better. They also got a kid that I love from Florida State, the edge rusher. I just think they've revamped that defense. They're going to be much better. He's finally got some of the guys that I think he needs to take that defense and get it to where he wants it to be. So they're moving in that direction. I'll put them third. I'll put the Dolphins fourth for now, but that definitely is a fluid list and subject to change. Red Wings 0-1. This has to be the year for the Bills. They have by far the most complete roster in football. It'll be a huge disappointment if they don't make the Super Bowl. I think they're at the point now where that window, it's as wide open as it's going to be. I don't think it shuts if they don't win the Super Bowl or even get to the Super Bowl this year. It'll be disappointing, but I still think the window will be open next year. I think if they don't, I think the next 2 years are pivotal for them because at some point, guys like Gabe Davis are going to need to be paid, and then your safeties will be getting older. They're already up there in age as is. So you don't want to be wasting a bunch of time with this nucleus that you have, veterans and young guys alike. You just paid Josh Allen. So, there's a huge chunk of money there that is already, allotted for that position and being used. So I think it is essential that while you still got prime Stephon Diggs, while your safeties are still playing at a very high level, while you still have, Milano and all these guys at the linebacker position in the prime of their careers, I think now is the time. Soon you're going to have to start paying a lot of these guys money or make decisions like Ed Oliver. I don't know if you want to pay Ed Oliver good money. You may want to just let him walk. But you got to take advantage of it while he's still here on that rookie deal, right? So I think the next 2 years are huge for Buffalo. This year, it's a big year, but I think next year is equally as important. And I think next year is the year where we can start saying, hey, the window's about to close. As long as they got Josh Allen, the window is technically open, but the roster around him is going to be ever-changing on both sides of the football. This is, as you mentioned, as complete a team as there is in the league. but it's not going to be that way every single year. So you got to take advantage of it while it's here to be taken advantage of. So I agree that this is a big season. It'll be a disappointment if they don't find themselves at a bare minimum in the AFC Championship game. But they probably need to find themselves in the Super Bowl. It's tough. It's brutal in the AFC. We've talked about that already. It continues to get tougher and tougher, and they're built for this. But they got to find a way to get it done when it matters most, and that's the playoffs. And really, I think if they really want to take that next step, F12-5, okay, they need to be 13-4 and staring at the number 1 seed and make the playoffs go through Buffalo. It's not ideal because they got to deal with the wind and the cold weather too, right? We saw them struggle with it against New England on a Monday night where the Patriots scored a touchdown. It was a downpour. It was windy, and they lost the game. No one wants to go out like that. But you much rather be in Buffalo with Bills Mafia. If it's cold, it's cold. You can deal with that. You know, if it's windy, it's windy. You've dealt with that more than the opposition. You much rather be at home and force them to have to deal with the elements that they're not accustomed to dealing with, than you have to travel to their place to get a win. So we'll see what happens. Got another super chat here. I'm going to take that one. And it is from the Phillies Ace 34. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. The Phillies Ace 34 writes, Louie, I agree as an Eagles fan. Washington worries me. Giants can be a sleeper as well. We really have to produce and utilize everything. Oh, on Mr. Cotter. So it's so fascinating to see what everybody thinks of the division. And right now, Dallas is the clear-cut favorite. Philadelphia is the clear-cut second. Okay. And then it's Washington and then the Giants. So as far as everyone's concerned, Dallas, it's their division to lose. If Dallas should slip up, then Philadelphia is immediately the beneficiary. So, sort of like an insurance policy. If something happens to Dallas, they've written down the Philadelphia Eagles, the media has, as the beneficiary of that policy. And so now it's your division. And they said only if Dak Prescott has an injury and the Eagles and Jalen Hurts stinks, only if those things occur, now Washington is now the beneficiary. Now they get to ascend to the top of the division. That's the only way that we can be good. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of this plays itself out, because that's what it looks like right now from the outside looking in. All right. I'll take a couple more hashtags. I got another super chat, so I'll take that. All right. Got a super chat here from Door Gunner. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Door Gunner, writes, love the content. Can't wait for the season. I see us at 10-7 if all goes right. When are you coming to Florida to help me fight some dinosaurs? You're on your own there, bro. When you send me those videos, I laugh hysterically every single time. That is not my fight, okay? I am not an outdoorsman. You take care of those guys on your own. You're used to it, right? So you got it by yourself. You don't need me. I'd only slow you down and make things complicated. 10-7. If that's a playoff berth, I'll take it. But I want more than that. I'm greedy. I want more, and I'm probably being bullheaded. But I want more than that this year. Thank you for the super chat, Door Gunner. Greatly appreciate you. And make sure you stay safe out there, man. Don't be out here trying to be like a caveman and allow one of them Crocs or something to get your ass. Just be careful, because they're all around down there. Anyway, I'll take a couple more hashtags, and then I think we will move on. So Rich writes, for clarification, I said the Chiefs clearly got worse, not just because of Hill, but we all know Matthew was 50% of the D and Jones with the other 50, and losing Matthew is huge. I think we overrate his significance to their defense. Yeah, he's a huge part of what they did defensively. I'm not taking that away, but he was getting up there in age. That's why they felt the need to move on. If they felt like he was that big a part of their defense, they would have re-signed him, no matter the age. Liking him to Ed Reed, even though he was getting up there in age, Troy Polamalu getting up there in age, there was a significance to what he meant to those organizations, what those players meant to those organizations. So you keep those guys around. there was a significance there, but they felt like if we can get younger with a player that we feel like gives us something similar to Tyrann Mathieu, we feel like we're going to be good. And really what the Chiefs have done, and you didn't bring this up, but they got better at corner. You know how they've been taking everybody else's, trash that's been discarded and put out for the trash man to come pick up. The Chiefs have been the team that's driving around looking for scrap metal to take to the junkyard and get some money for it. That's what they've been doing at the cornerback position. Oh, the Giants don't want Baker. Oh, we'll take him. Oh, the Vikings don't want Mike Hughes. We'll take him. They're taking everybody else's trash at the cornerback position. Well, they finally went and got their own damn corner, and a damn good one too. In McDuffie, I think they're going to be significantly better just off the strength of getting a younger safety that's good in Justin Reed, and now adding McDuffie to the mix in the secondary. So still think they could get better at getting after the quarterback. I think that's one of their, but they still got Chris Jones, and he's still a problem up front. I would like them to be better off the edge, but, we'll see what happens there. All right. I think, make sure that I didn't miss. Yeah, I didn't miss any super chats. I think I'll take one more hashtag, one or two more hashtags. I see one here from Red Wings. I think a lot of the Pats' success will also depend on Devontae Parker staying healthy as their only true number one. Knowing him, I ain't holding my breath. He's going to be huge to their success, but last year they didn't have a clear number one. They got it done with the parts that they had. I don't really necessarily worry about receiver, but yes, he is the one guy, and Parker is a low-end one, but he is the only guy that resembles anything close to a number one. But they got it done without a true number one wide receiver last year. So I think they can get it done. I don't worry about that. What I worry about is, can they just be a competent offense? Can they play complementary football like they did last year? When they played complementary football last year, they were hard to beat. When the defense was humming and the offense didn't turn it over, and they took advantage of opportunities with short fields, because the Patriots were turning teams over like crazy at one point last season, and they turned those into points. They were a tough team to beat. I don't love this offense. So I don't even know this offense. I don't know what they're going to be. But if Joe Judge has anything to do with it, they're in trouble. That's all I know. I think I'll take one more hashtag, and then we will transition to our final segment of the show. Richie writes, Louie, I'm coming for that belt and crown, dropping fire last night on the Command Post Live. Keep up the great content. Thanks, Rich. And I'm glad to hear you say that. Hell, I'm coming for the strap. I gotta bounce back. Wake up in the morning, brush my teeth, and grab the strap. I'm looking to get that back. I lost it last year. It's no longer mine. It's no longer in my possession. Carmen Rana won the strap last year. He didn't want the belt. I told him, give me his address. I'll send him the belt. He didn't want the belt. I'm thinking about getting a new one made, even though I still had the one from last year in possession. It's not my belt. Now, I could win them this year, okay, and I would feel vindicated, and I'm like, man, give me both of the straps. I'm the WBO and WBC champ. I would love to be that way, but I got to go out and get it. I was humbled last year. I really was. I was so disappointed in myself, but I feel a bounce back coming this year. Thank you for that, Richie. Let's go ahead and get to the final segment of the show. You know what it is. Garbage time. So, camp is underway, and there's a new phenomenon sweeping camps all across the nation. It's called the show up and hold out. So we've never seen this. We've seen the shout and, come on, baby, let's do the twist. Did y'all used to do that in PE at school as kids when they would play little songs and you'd have to dance and jump around? That was one of the songs our PE teacher played in elementary school. Come on, baby, let's do the twist. But people are showing up to camp now. They don't want to get fined. So you know, necessity is the mother of invention, right? So the new CBA comes out, and the new CBA pretty much ensures that you can't hold out. If you got it like that, you can do whatever you want, but it's going to cost you. If you strap like that and you got cash, you good. Do whatever the hell you want to do. But if for you, all you broke dudes, and these guys are broke, that's why they're holding out, because they need to get their bread. These aren't first round picks we're talking about. So they like, hey, I need my money and I need it now. On some JG Wentworth shit. All right. That's my money and I want it now. Okay. That's what DK Metcalf is saying. That's what Deebo Samuel is saying. And so these guys are showing up to camp because they don't want to get fined, but they're not going to participate in practice. They're off on the side field stretching and, kind of staying in shape, but not actually participating with the rest of the squad. Interesting. That's a different way to approach it, that, hey, I'm here. All right. Like, it's almost on some Marshawn Lynch. I'm here so I don't get fined. Right. But I'm not looking to practice. I'm not looking I actually like that strategy better than not being there, Shows that you want to be there. You're there in good faith. Obviously, if the CBA wasn't the way that it was, set up, they wouldn't be there. But because of the way it's set up now, they have no choice. But it's a distraction too, If you're going to show up, you want these guys there in practice. But I think what this does effectively is it puts the pressure on these teams to get something done. These teammates don't want to look over on the side field. If you're Seattle and you're going to suck this year, but the only chance you have of winning some games is DK Metcalf just goes ape shit with whomever's at quarterback. He's mossing on people down the field. He's running by safeties and corners. That's the only chance that they have. The run game is really proficient because they drafted a running back that has a chance to really do some damage for them. And the run game's really proficient. And now you go play action fake and you're able to launch it 50 yards in the air. DK is able to run under it and run for a touchdown. That's the shot you have if you're Seattle. Well, you don't want to look over at the side field and see the guy that gives you the best shot to win football games over there stretching because he doesn't have a contract. Tyler Lockett by himself isn't good enough. Now, they got Dwayne Eskridge too. And I think he's going to have a really good second campaign after being injured for much of the season last year. They got a lot of speed, but DK is the guy, right? That's the guy that strikes fear in most people's hearts. I think you're sleeping if you don't understand what Tyler Lockett means to that franchise. But I think that puts the onus on the team. The players like, I'm here. My teammates know what it is. They see me. They know what I'm after. I'm here. Now you got to make it happen. Same thing with the 49ers. Every day until Deebo Samuel signs on the dotted line, they're going to have to answer questions as to where they are in the contract negotiations. I watched the presser with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, and they're saying, hey, the dialogue is there. We're moving in the right direction, but we're not there yet. And that's going to be on every day. They're going to have to answer those same damn questions. And the teammates are going to have to answer a question or two about Deebo Samuel. What does that do for you guys when you look over at the side field and you see your teammate over there, wanting a deal, but he's not able to practice with you guys? What does that do? Like, these are the stupid ass questions you got to answer. It's a distraction. I actually think, and obviously, again, this is out of necessity. They wouldn't have done this. They would have done it the old school way and just not shown up had the CBA not been the way that it's worded now, where, hey, the team can't even waive the fines if they wanted to. If you don't show up and they fine you, you got to pay that fine. Back in the day, you could stay away. They could fine you every day up to X amount of dollars. In good faith, they say, hey, you come in, you sign this deal, we'll wipe away all the fines. Let's get back to football. Let's sing Kumbaya, get back to football. Can't do that anymore. So these players have to show up, but they don't have to participate. I wonder in the next CBA, will they have a provision in there that says you can't show up and not participate? I don't think they can do that, but who knows? All right. And I don't know if the players would sign off on that, but either way, I do find that to be interesting. Like I said, it's camp time, and you're going to see guys retiring. You're going to see we haven't had really many injuries to report yet, which is a good thing. I did see that Evander Holyfield's son got carted off. His season is over. So you're going to start to see that Elijah Holyfield for Cincinnati was carted off. Obviously, the Chiefs had Justin Ross, a guy that they were really hoping, turned out to be a gem for them as an undrafted free agent out of Clemson. He's done for the season. And, so far we haven't had any big names go down, and I'd like to keep it that way. But that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. The Reaper is starting to rev up the engine. I don't know where he's going to head, whether he's going to head east, west, north, south. I don't know where he's going. I'd like him to stay out of the eastern region of the country if at all possible. Last year he hit the east region really hard. Baltimore, before the season started, Washington during the season, and other teams will be able to relate to that. The Giants, there were so many teams on the East Coast that were hit hard by injuries. I'd like him to take his ass west or north or somewhere away from us. But at some point, he's going to get out here and get funky, and I hope he keeps it to a minimum, but you know how the Reaper does. He wants to get funky. And he's going to get out here. He's going to start reaching out, touching folks. So, as I always say, man, protect your shit. He's going to get loose here shortly. So, good luck to all of you out there, whatever fan base you root for. Good luck keeping your shit clean and healthy, because the Reaper's going to be out to task here in a bit. So, camp is among us. 1 week from now, we'll be talking about an actual game. It ain't a good game. It's a Hall of Fame game, but it's a game nonetheless. Bart Scott. Can't wait. So once we get that underway, you pull off the wrapper. All right. You open Pandora's box. You can't close it. Okay. We squeeze that toothpaste out of the tube. You can't put it back in. We're off and running. And this football thing that we love so much will be injected into our veins. And we'll just, from that point on, we'll be fiend up for the next 6 months. I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't getting antsy, because I am. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me here on the 279th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I look forward to chopping it up with Washington fans tonight as we will talk about the first 2 days of training camp. A lot of guys have stepped up to the podium and spoken. Same can be said for Ron Rivera. We'll talk about all that has been said, all that has been done in the first 2 days of practice. And then I've got some interesting takes, some things that I want to bring to the table and have you guys discuss. So should be a fun show tonight. Looking forward to chopping it up with all of you. Until the next time, however, I'm your man, Louie T. You know what it is. Get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with me, your man, Louie T. Until next time, you guys have a good one. God bless and good night.
LouieTeeNetwork.